Um, First off, hey. This is crazy. This is crazy. I'm doing something I never thought I would be doing, but here we are. I am sitting in front of a camera because because well, I think I want to give this whole content creation thing a spin. Basically, what I'm trying to say is this is me starting over. It's 2025. I want to do something different. This is me doing something different. So either you're going to love it or you're going to hate it. And guess what? I'm here for it all. Okay, so what I want to talk about. Recently, I have had a lot of friends who have come to me and said, hey, Ty, also, if you didn't know, my name is Tyre Eason. What's good? What's poppin'? But you can call me Ty. A lot of my friends have come to me and been like, hey, Ty, I have never read a comic book before. And if I have read a comic book before, it was a long time ago when I was like 7 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old. I don't remember anything from it. I know that like superheroes are a big deal now, but I don't know where to begin. I love this character, but how do I get into it? I love this character, but I don't know where to start. So, people come to me because, look, I'm a nerd. I'm a big nerd. So I know a lot of stuff about comic books, storytelling, stuff like that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I wish I read more comic books, just so I like know more stuff. But this first video, I believe, is a way for us to break down key differences between the two main like comic book companies, and that is Marvel and DC. I have thoughts on both. They have great moments. They have terrible moments. They have in-between moments. But here we are. So Marvel's first like official comic was called Marvel Comics #1. And that introduced two characters called the Human Torch and then the Submariner. Of course, if y'all don't know by the names, the Human Torch does become Johnny Storm. The Submariner does become Namor, or as the Wakanda Forever movie coined it, Namor now. And so those are very like huge characters when it comes to, you know, Johnny Storm with the Fantastic Four, and then Namor being heavily tied to the Fantastic Four and to Black Panther in the comics. And so, yeah, there's a lot of like moving parts with the history of these things, like when the comics came out and these characters, but it all builds like the landscape of what we know as Marvel and DC. So let's talk more Marvel right now. I'll stick with them. Marvel, as we know it today, I'll go by teams. Teams being the Avengers, the Young Avengers, we have the Fantastic Four, we have X-Men, that's a huge deal. We technically have the Inhumans, but like Marvel kind of hates them, so they don't talk about them. But that features one of my favorite characters. He's like the leader of them, called Black Bolt. Love him. He can do no wrong in my eyes. So yeah, we have those types of characters. And so obviously like the Avengers, everyone hears the Avengers and they automatically think Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye. Like that is, you know, the original team. Falcon, all that. Like that is the golden standard of what Marvel holds to be their like top people. Them and the Fantastic Four, a lot of people don't know that. Like they're not just called the first family for nothing. They are literally Marvel's first like superhero family. Sue Storm, Reed Richards, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm. Like that is a huge deal. I'm sure a lot of you probably know this now because of the popularity of Marvel Rivals. Like that has become a big deal. But yeah, and then you have your X-Men. The original X-Men team, a lot of people don't know this, consisted of Beast, Iceman, Jean Grey, and Cyclops. All of those characters, huge deal. Huge deal to just the monolith that Marvel has become over the years, especially Jean Grey. Like, whoa, like that is the Phoenix we're talking about. And then, of course, later on comes like more key players. One of my favorite X-Men ever, Storm, love her. Wolverine, you get Professor X. He's also a part of that like original team. Well, he put them together. The Inhumans, like I said, no one talks about them, unfortunately, but they do exist. That's characters like Black Bolt, Medusa, Crystal, Maximus, and their pet dog, Lockjaw. Loved Lockjaw. Yeah, that is like the basis of that, right? And so then we jump over to the DC side. So the DC side, a lot of their teams, you will come to realize, include the word justice in them. So there is the original, like OG, like before the Justice League happened, it was the Justice Society. And that incorporates characters such as Green Lantern, the Flash, like the original Flash, Jay Garrick. You have Dr. Midnight, you have Starman, you have, oh gosh, there's like so many of them. And then you kind of move along later on in the mythology, right after, or not right after, but they introduced like the big characters. Superman was like one of their first, or like one of their original characters. And then you get Batman and Wonder Woman, and so they form the Trinity. But then you also have them like becoming a bigger team with the Justice League. So you have the Flash, and you have Green Lantern, and you have Cyborg. He comes much later, but he becomes a part of that team. Then you have Aquaman, and oh my gosh, Martian Manhunter was like a huge deal. So yeah, there are big differences, I would say. And the biggest difference I can think of between both is the cities. What you will find is that a lot of times, specifically in DC, if you have a character such as like the Flash, when people think about the Flash, they automatically associate the Flash with the city that he comes from. So that city for him is Central City. Batman, Gotham City. Superman, Metropolis. People get mixed up on the name a lot, but Wonder Woman, it's not a city, it's an island, but Wonder Woman comes from an island of female warriors. And so that is known as Themyscira, or Paradise Island in some, interpretations of her mythology. But that is like the biggest difference I feel between DC and Marvel. Whereas Marvel, they have like teams for specific areas. So you'll have like an Avengers team, but then there's an Avengers team that only operates on the West Coast. So they literally call them the West Coast Avengers. I will say for like the Marvel movies, like the MCU, they have associated the Avengers with New York, because that's just where everything was. That's where Tony Stark was, during the first Avengers movie. So they have associated them with that, which is fine. It's not like a huge deal, but that is a big difference. So like with teams, you'll have them kind of all over the place with Marvel. versus in DC, you have like specific characters that are tied to specific places. Another one that just popped into my head was Oliver Queen Green Arrow. He's always associated with Star City. That is just his city. What you will also find with that though is a lot of times when you have a DC character attached to a specific city, the type of city they live in kind of also is the narrative drive for their specific stories, if that makes sense. So for example, Metropolis, Superman, like being the hero of Metropolis, you will always find that Superman stories, for the most part, are very much like high octane action, but the city aspect of it is very much like, oh, he's going around, he's saving the city. It feels very like lighthearted for the most part. And you'll most times find those stories being about him, him being an alien, but how does an alien fare in a city full of like humans? He has these godlike powers, but how does he go in his everyday life without like crushing all of them, basically? So you'll have that juxtaposed with like, Batman in Gotham City. Gotham City is known notoriously for being crime ridden, and there's a lot of deals going on, and you have a lot of villains there such as Penguin and Joker, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy. When you see Gotham City, oh, like Batman is not far. And if you see Batman, Gotham City is not far, and like that there's stuff going on in Gotham City that's like bad, but Batman is always there to kind of help out. So that is something that I personally have noticed between the two, with Marvel and DC. Another big difference between the two of them, I see a lot of like, with DC, a lot more character driven story elements, versus with Marvel, it's not so much that they're not character driven, but a lot of times with Marvel, you will find that Marvel kind of harps on the superhero aspects of the characters. So a lot of times when you watch or when you read a Marvel comic, especially when it comes to like the big, universe shattering events that they have, like, oh gosh, like every 2-3 years, you'll find that a lot of those things are attached to being a hero, being a superhero, what that's like, what that feels like, and the weight of that. Versus in DC, a lot of their stuff is more character driven. You will find a lot of stories about, Batman, why Batman, being the kind of person that he is, or being the kind of character he is, him dealing with a lot of the trauma from his parents dying, dealing with the death of like some of his sidekicks, such as, Red Hood. Spoiler alert for the people that haven't read it. The story's been out for years, but, his whole ordeal is he was an orphan, so he didn't have what a lot of kids have, even though he was rich, but he never really had his parents like that. And so what he started doing was, as he got older and he was really like getting into the Batman moniker and stuff like that, he would take in these orphans. That's how we start getting like characters like Dick Grayson and Jason Todd and all of those things. And, Jason Todd turning from Robin and nearly losing his life, or actually he did lose his life, killed by Joker, and then he becomes the Red Hood. Like, you just get a lot more character driven based kind of stories. And so that is like a very big difference, I feel, between Marvel and DC, and why those things are different. And so, but yeah, I personally feel like because like DC has been around for so long, it's just their characters are more well known than like Marvel's characters. Obviously, over time, Marvel has put out way more movies than DC ever has. And so you will see that, like, Marvel's much more on the big screen than DC is. And so Marvel has kind of gained these fans, fans that love characters. And sometimes it will be like very niche characters. Like, for the longest time, nobody knew who Ant-Man was. But, they somehow, some way got Paul Rudd to play this very, like, niche character, no pun intended, but very small character into this very big deal. Like, he is way more important than you would ever think he would be, especially when it comes to Endgame. He's the reason why, like, these heroes kind of banded together and realized they could use the quantum realm to, like, take down Thanos for real and bring everybody back with the from the snap. So it's very interesting how the dynamic has shifted. And yeah, but I would, recommend everyone, like, if you want to just be more knowledgeable about these things, because something I have found myself is that, being very nerdy regarding comics, it's not just comics that these stories affect. Now these things have transpired past just these pages that you're flipping. It's now getting into entertainment, A lot more people are being tuned in, like I mentioned earlier with Marvel Rivals. Like, people are being tuned in with the games. They're being tuned in with the shows. They're being tuned in with the movies. Like, it is transpiring just what's written now. It's now going into territories such as, these very big entertainment aspects. I just love it. I love it all. I will read it and I will digest it. And even the stuff that I don't like, I find something or a character that I do like. And yeah, it's just what I'm passionate about and what I love. So I think I want to use this platform to really, shine light on the stuff that I love, whether that be about comics or movies or TV or games or even music. Like, I would love to kind of open up this space for that. Yeah, I'm excited to get into this content creation stuff and really just see where it goes. But you guys can find me on Instagram at Ty2Fly1, and then y'all can also find me on Twitter at King_Ty. And I think I will be coming up with a TikTok maybe soon. Yeah, it's crazy because I have always been that person that never wanted TikTok and never had one. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, thank y'all. Come again. Oh, and if y'all have, like, questions about comics or anything that, like, any subject regarding entertainment or, anything music related or game related, anything entertainment related, especially comic books, like, let me know. Like, leave me comments or, DM me your questions. If there's, like, specific characters that you want to get into and you just didn't know how to, and you want, like, a reading list, I will make a video for you if I must. Please. I love helping people out. That's my like, love language, is helping people. So yeah, love y'all and hope to see y'all again soon, maybe.